Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Snoody Lounge Podcast. And today I got a special guest. So now you know what I got to do? I got to punch him in. His name is Matt. I know a couple teams that he like in the studio. 1 month ahead of me. Going to be graduating soon. So everybody, let's meet Matt Seaman, man. How's it going, bro?
What's going on, brother? I appreciate you having me on.
Yes. No, most of the time, he's the one asking the question. So tune in to the podcast I did on his what's on your podcast? What's your podcast?
Seaman Speaks Sports.
Seaman Speaks Sports. So
Spotify and Apple Music.
Spotify, Apple Music, and everything. So what I'm going to do first is go to some current event questions, and then we're going to do a chronological interview. So first question is, I like Dillon Brooks, and I want Dillon Brooks on my Hawks. How do you feel about Dillon Brooks and his overall play?
Well, I'm a big Lebron fan. I'm not gonna lie. And seeing that, I feel like Dillon Brooks was like that fire, like the spark that LeBron and the Lakers needed to kind of get past them and shut them down. Everybody's doing the whole "you better learn Chinese, buddy" with Dillon Brooks, but I mean, I feel like it just got to his head. I feel like when you're going against a guy like LeBron, they were saying poke the bear. Like, that's not a guy you should mess with. Now, watching him play, I know there was a time in the series where he was just, his numbers were dead last.
Right.
Points, assists, rebounds, like he was last for, I believe, players over like a certain amount of minutes, 20 or 25 minutes. But during the regular season, he had encounters with Draymond Green, and I really feel like in the back of his head, he was like, oh shit. I got Draymond Green coming at me. That's a Hall of Famer. I got LeBron coming at me. That's a Hall of Famer. So I feel like the Hawks would be a good fit. I'm a big fan of Memphis. I liked what they were doing there, but a lot of people aren't, and a lot of people are just keep talking with him. But I feel like if he goes to a rebuilding team, he can be lethal with them.
I agree. I agree. So my next question is going to go to the football side. A lot of big time moves. Ravens got Lamar back.
Yep.
Jets got Aaron Rodgers, and of course my Falcons picked up B.J. Robinson. But how do you feel about the Cowboys draft? How do you feel about your Cowboys?
Cowboys draft is always tough, right? Because I don't like Jerry Jones as an owner, as what he does and stuff like that. But I will say there is one thing that he does do well. That's the draft.
Right.
They traded back for Micah Parsons. I can't believe that happened. They've picked up guys like Dak and Zeke in the same draft. They got Leighton Vander Esch. I feel like it was a good pick. So he has history of selecting good people. But it's always hard for me to watch a draft and be like, is that guy a good fit?
Right.
He took a lot of Michigan guys this year in the draft.
What about Vaughn? Did you like the Vaughn pick? I remember I seen on social media the dude was crying because he picked his son up.
I actually did like that. I thought that was really good about Jerry. I watched Deuce. I think everybody saw him against Alabama in that bowl game, and I feel like that was a good highlight reel of him and what he can do. But overall, I think we did a pretty good draft. I'd probably give it a B minus. It wasn't the best. I think the worst part was that we selected a defensive tackle when Nolan Smith was still on the board. And for me, even going back to last year, I hate the Eagles. And
fair, yeah.
But they always took the guys I wanted.
Right.
Last year, I wanted Jordan Davis in the first round. Last year, I wanted Nakobe Dean when he was there, and I think he got picked up in the 70s. And Cowboys always had a draft pick above the Eagles. Didn't do nothing. Same thing this year with Nolan Smith.
The UGA Eagles. But just one last quick question. Over, under 10 wins Cowboys, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's shift gears to the chronological world. So what I'm going to do is just, ask questions from, when you was a baby to now, what you're doing now. So let's go to the early years. I know you're from Virginia.
Yes, sir.
And, you did your thing out there. Shout out to AI. Shout out to my man Tory. He from Virginia himself back there. But tell me about the early years. Who put the sports mind into your mind growing up?
That would definitely be my dad. Growing up, people ask me all the time why I love my teams, because my teams are all over. But Virginia doesn't have any professional teams, so I always fall back on that excuse. But, he likes the Cowboys, big Mets fan, big Ohio State, UNC for college football and basketball. He definitely sparked that in me, like from a very early age.
So tell me how you became, is it more of just your father you became those team fans, or did you find a team on your own?
For basketball, I found a team on my own. first I liked the Spurs. It was sort of that thing, like I sat down and watched the game because I didn't get to the NBA until I was probably in middle or early middle school. Whereas the other sports I loved, growing up. But watching basketball is one of those things, like whoever wins this game, I'm watching them for the rest of my life. And I will say I don't really support my Spurs as much as I can. I kind of fell into that trap of this generation falling into players. And LeBron, it's like, that guy is so good. I'm like, people just don't appreciate him. They just like to bash him and stuff. And definitely basketball side of things professionally, I ventured that out on my own.
For sure. So what sports did you lean to play more when you was growing up in the younger years?
As much as I want to say football, it was basketball for sure. I was a big man. Yeah.
So if we was playing 2K and you're creating your player on the game, tell me your archetype. Tell me the archetype player you would have if you was creating yourself.
If I'm creating myself, I'm going a small forward. I'm going a thrashing defender.
Okay.
Yeah, because I hate the 3-point shot.
Okay, yeah.
I can't, like.
The Rose, you more of the Rose and go to the L.
Yeah, we throwing it back. Bad Boys of Detroit type style. Yeah. Like, no, I don't. Steph Curry, yeah, he changed the game, but I hate the way he did that, man. I'm like, man, you got to ground and pound. Like, I love that physicality.
So that do make sense why you were like the Grizzlies, because they're such a great type of team with Zach Randolph when they were just big man and just
yeah, man. I mean, back in that span, 2013 to 2017 even, it was just so many players like did that, back to the basket, posting up. Tim Duncan, he was a great player.
Oh my, he go to the bank all the time. Shout out to Navy Federal.
Mr. Fundamental.
Yeah. All right, so I'm not sure which time frame you was doing this, but I know when you was younger, you was writing for a paper.
Yes, I was.
So tell me more about how did you even get into writing for the paper, and how long did you do that?
That's actually a funny story. So growing up, I was terrible at English. I was like, I hated it. I hated grammar. I mean, I'm still not good at grammar and stuff like that. Like vocabulary, like I'm not great, but. I actually had a teacher in high school. I had her freshman year English, and she I don't know, it's weird. She kind of like saw something in me and my abilities and stuff, and asked me when I was a sophomore. She was like, "Hey, I kind of need people for the paper next year." And I had a few of my buddies in there, and they were writing and stuff, and I was like, "Hey, let's do it." And I just love sports, and I really found a passion like writing stuff down and giving out to the world about people, about events, about sports and stuff like that. I fell in love with it. So junior year, I wrote for the paper. I was kind of getting settled into stuff, and then senior year, COVID happened. I kind of lost like the back end of my junior year and really almost all of my senior year. But she asked me to be an editor, so I was a sports editor my senior year. So I covered all these sports, man. I was writing about lacrosse, soccer, football.
What was the first thing you ever wrote about, if you remember?
First
article that Matt wrote about.
I can't remember my first one, but I'll tell you my favorite one. One of my buddies. So all my boys played football. So my teacher was like, if you play the sport, you can't write about that sport. So there was a kid in high school. His name was Miles Alston. He actually just transferred from Pittsburgh to Old Dominion, but at the time he actually I think he graduated early to take time off to prep for going to Pitt.
Right.
And this was huge, man. Like he was a big time recruit, big time receiver. Like everybody knew his name, and my high school was really known for their football teams. So he was awesome. But so I kind of covered a feature story on him about going into his senior year, going into his freshman year at Pittsburgh. Man, I loved it, man. I learned a lot about him. I had a great time doing the whole thing, covering him, and really just learning about people's stories.
That is so dope, man, that you already was prepping for what my next question is gonna be. You see the big guy in the back, it's Dan Patrick, so you already know the next question coming along. All the colleges in the world, you got Syracuse, you got Pitt, you got Old Dominion. Or you even got Tennessee. Shout out to my college and Nico, by the way. But why did we choose this lovely college of Full Sail University, Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting?
Yeah, so going back to high school a little bit, when I was a sophomore in high school, my dad had a company party. So all of his guys came over, and one of them I was chopping it up, talking with him and stuff, and he told me and my dad, he was like, hey, did you hear about that new Dan Patrick School opening up? And this is like 2018. So I'm only a sophomore, it kind of went in one ear, out the other, whatever. Come time when I made my decision to go to college, I decided to go to James Madison University. Got up there in August, and I'm not gonna lie, man, like I found out like this, that I hated it. I hated the whole gen ed situation. You got to go like 2 years into this, and then you get into your major. I'm like, I'm not trying to do all this, man. Like, why am I paying 2 years to literally learn about sociology, right? Like, I don't even know. I still don't know what that is, right? So, long story short, I dropped out at the end of the first semester. And I remember the time that I made the call. I called somebody here at Full Sail. I can't remember Miguel, I think his name was.
Yeah.
One of the guys in the resource office, and he was just explaining to me, and we had like an hour and a half conversation. It was a Tuesday morning. I called him. I was like, hey, tell me about Full Sail. Like, is this where I'm going to go? Like, this is what I want to do. Got off the phone with him, called my mom, and I was like, hey, like I want to do this. I want to do this. And basically, I dropped out after that semester. I had a really bad GPA, but at the same time, I was like, I'm not going to need none of this. So I decided, I got all my stuff together, and 2 months later after I dropped out, I found myself here and haven't looked back since.
And you've been doing your thing, if I could say so myself. So we both pulled a Kanye. I pulled a college dropout myself and then ended up going to Full Sail. So my next question, normally I ask people what to expect from psychology play and presentation, but I'm going to ask you something different. So if you're going to sportscasting, you got to see Ruddy in intro. Tell the new sportscasters who are going to see this interview, what can they expect when they go to their first sportscasting class, which is intro Ruddy? What can they expect?
I mean, I would just say expect a lot. It's a lot of cool stuff, and I know those the first 2 months are kind of like, what am I doing here? Like, this is dumb. Like, I'm learning some stuff, but I would just say keep an open mind because there's so much you learn, man. Like, it's a very broad class, but Ruddy's a great teacher. I mean, I love Ruddy. He's a fan favorite here at DP. But he knows what he's doing. From logging the games to your first time in the studio right here. Like, there's a lot of nerves, but just keep an open mind because, man, it is a blast.
Yeah, tell people more about the rundown creator. Like, a lot of my friends ask me about, like, what are you writing, like, in that little, like...
That little bubble? That little bubble,
yeah. Tell me about the rundown creator.
Man, rundown. There's so much that goes into it.
Well, yeah, don't go into all the music and all that.
No, I won't, but it's really... So every story, TV, you only get a fraction of a time. We can talk here for hours about whatever, but TV world, you only got like 60 seconds, maybe, to tell a full story. So you gotta you gotta time it right. You gotta do a lead in, to your story. Tease them, tease your viewer, tease your listener, tease your audience of what you're gonna say. And then boom, maybe we cut to a voiceover of, LeBron, his highlights last night against Golden State, something like that. You're going to say, all right, well, Steph Curry came out and he did not want to lose in this game. Right. Blah, 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 long story short. And then at the very end, you throw your tag in there and, kind of just wrapping up your story and then boom, transition to the next story. And that's really the process, You tease your viewers with everything that they're going to see in the show,
right? And
then boom, lead into your first story. Say the story, close it up, and that's really the recipe you kind of follow the entire way through.
For sure. So I know you're a month ahead of me, so I be giving you calls from time to time to try to get some insights on things. What class made you realize like this is for me, like this is where I want to be at, and this is what I'm gonna do?
Ooh, what class? Honestly, man, probably Christine's Vocal 2 class.
Ooh, I just got out of it.
Yeah.
Yes, no I-bombs.
She really, I mean, there's a lot of times in this program where you kind of feel like you got your back against the wall type thing, like you got to get it done. Sports never sleeps. Right. TV never sleeps. Like you can't stop. Discipline and consistency is like what you need to keep you going in this program and really in this industry as a whole. But when I got to Christine's class, I was kind of like, iffy. What am I going to do? Do I belong on air? Do I want to do radio? Do I want to produce stuff like that? And she kind of opened my eyes. Like, you don't have to do everything about sports. You can be on air and talk about whatever you want. You can do it your own way. And it's really just a combination of producing and being on air, just giving an audience that I can connect to what they want to hear and what I enjoy talking about. So her class, yeah, for sure. She's got a final in the studio, dressing up and stuff like that. I always love doing that, man. Like, I get in that suit and I'm like, it's me time. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. So when you're in the studio doing the performance, do you prefer to be sitting down behind the desk, doing your thing, or you want to do on the kiosk doing the stand?
Sitting, man. Sitting.
What is it about the sitting part makes it more?
It's just a different sense of power. Like, you're sitting there and like this whole studio is yours. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing else really matters around
and
you.
they only focus on you.
Right. You got the lights above. And people don't realize that. Like, those lights are bright up there, man. It's like they're right on you. You got 3 or 4 cameras on you. You got people looking. You got a whole team of great people in the back in the control room, like, on your command, trying to help you be the best you can be.
Facts. Yeah. So my next question is so many great people who was in the program before us. You got the Fonzos, you got the Mike Nisicos, you got the KJ. Everybody. So who was in the program who was ahead of you, who gave you a lot of help and insight to looking into the program?
Oh God, man, the list goes on.
I don't want to have to make you do all that, man.
I'll give you 3. And honestly, you probably just named a few. So KJ was graduating when I got into Indro with Ruddy, and that was like the standard, right? Like, he was the epitome of his class. Everybody looked up to him. I know Gus had a lot of good things to say about him and still does. So he came into my intro class a bunch and was just spitting facts at me. Hey, this is what you have to do. You have to give 110% or you're just going to fall behind. And I'm sure if you can't fall behind in this program, because if you fall behind 1 or 2 steps, like, everybody else is moving on. Everybody else is moving forward.
Your homeboy, like, say you in a group, because most of the time we in classes, you with your homeboys, so you don't want to be the one behind the homeboys and gotta catch up with your partner. So I do understand about it.
And then I'll throw one more. Definitely Dylan Foster.
I was just with him at Live Golf.
Yeah, no, like, he just has his stuff in order, man. He's got his ducks in a row. Whenever he was in the studio, I ran a lot of my first time stuff, running playback, teleprompt, whatever it was. He was in there. And I remember one time, man, he was in P&P 6, Project and Portfolio 6, and the basis of that class is to have a lot of shows, and they did shows like every other day. And I remember one time I was in there, first time running playback, and he was my director. And I was like, all right, thank God I don't have Chris, because Chris on my first time, man, that's just like a roller coaster. Like, you don't know what he's going to say to you. But Dylan was there, and, man, he walked me through every step of the way. And he actually directed every single one of his classmates' shows and then went on to perform his show. And it's like, he had a class of, like, I want to say 5 or 6, maybe even 7. And he's directing all of these shows time and time again. He nailed it, man. He had it down to, like, a rhythm where he did it. And he knew, at least for me, he knew how to run the entire control room. And he was walking me through things. And when I messed up, because, in this business, you do mess up. When I messed up, he didn't torture me. He didn't yell at me. He was like, all right, there's a thing I like to use. It's called PCP. It's called praise, correct, praise, right? He was like, all right, Matt, you're doing a good job here. Let's correct this, and then that way we'll both be on the same page on the next show or the next block of the show or whatever. So, yeah, definitely him. He was always nice to me and always willing to give me a helping hand.
I still be calling him about editing things on my Premiere Pro.
He knows it, man.
He's the editing guru. But I want you to tell me about the most memorable show you had in the studio so far. Tell me about the show that pops up that you did.
Oh, it had to be Jamila's final show for Diversity.
Oh,
and it was funny because her class is kind of a roller coaster as well. Not to be cliche, but her class is a 7-minute final show. And she said it was supposed to be 5 to 7 minutes. But I think I ran I ran 6:22, so I was 38 seconds short. I'll never forget that. 38 seconds short. And she was like, man, this is this was all great and stuff. And even in my assignment 2 in the studio, she was like, if I was watching TV, I would watch it. And I was like, damn, that feels good when people say that. But I got a suit for Christmas over the break. It was maroon. So I was wearing all maroon, black undershirt. Like, I was feeling it, man. Yes, I was. And I worked very hard on that show, man. Like, people don't realize, like, the whole.
You want to, you can.
Every hour of work you do here is probably like 60 seconds that actually gets out there on the show.
Thank you. To all my boys, yes.
I mean, you could even make the argument 100 hours is a minute of your show or whatever. Like, people don't realize how much time, effort, and dedication we put into this stuff, putting these products really just, for the viewer to watch. But I put in a lot of time, man, and it was hectic because, like, I was in a time crunch that weekend. I had all this stuff going on, and I was like, you know what? I sat down all day Sunday. I just worked on it. And to go on there and stage, I had my new suit. I had, like, a fresh mindset. It was coming out of the break. It was in January, man. Like that new year, new me, like, I'm fresh, man. I got out there, and, dude, I felt like I killed it until she said, hey, like, she gave me a 30 seconds, and I was like, I have nothing left. Like, I literally said, for Full Sail Live, I'm Matt Seaman, and that was it. And I think I sat there for, like,
She made you sit there.
She made me sit there, and so did Chris. And Chris, that was the first class we had IFBs in.
Right.
And she was like, "Hey, you have 30 seconds left," and I was like, "I got nothing else." Like,
that's all, folks.
I was gonna exactly. I was like, "Can y'all throw the Looney Tunes?" Like, that's all, folks, thing on my show. But nonetheless, I chopped it up, posted it on my YouTube, and I got a lot of good feedback, man. Like,
yeah, the show you did was pretty good. I know you graduate October and November, and
yes,
I know
sir.
you have some extracurricular things going on outside of school. Tell me more about your podcast. How did that start? Where's it? Where do you want to go with it? But I want to talk about the original. Where did it originate from first?
So when I first came down here, March of 22. Well, I moved down here February 22, but I started in March. And for me, I always wanted to have a podcast, but I never knew, like, the ropes. So I really took from those early months where you didn't have a lot going on to study that stuff. They always say if you want to be great, you got to study the greats. Right. You got to know what they do, ins and outs, what they do. And I really just perfected my craft, man. I did all this extensive research about podcasts, what separates it. I watched all these videos, and that took me from, like, probably April to, like, September, because we didn't start recording until October.
Right.
And so from April to September, man, I had my head in the dirt. I was grinding, just learning audio stuff and what makes it better, and listen to all these different podcasts. I listened to Pat McAfee for to get my intro, like my first episode. Like, what do I say? I listened to No Mercy by Stephen A. Like, all this stuff and all these thoughts were flowing in my mind, and I got to October and I was like, you know what, man, let's do this. So from October to December, we recorded every weekend. Every Saturday, man, we were busting out at least one episode, sometimes 2 or 3 episodes. And it was until January 7th I posted my first episode. And I kind of created, like, a vault because, like I said before, discipline and consistency is what this industry is. And for me, I was like, I got to create a vault of, 10, 20 episodes where if I'm busy on a Saturday, I can still post something. Regardless of what I'm doing, I can always be one step ahead of myself. And that's really what that originated from.
That is so dope, man. That is so dope and smart. Well, that's what I need to do. I need to put some more interviews in the vault. But I know you graduated in October. What is your 5-year plan after you graduate from this lovely college?
Man, this industry is so fun.
I know.
Because it is, you never know.
You don't. I know.
That is just.
Okay, I'm going to try to word this another way. Where would you want to be in 5? You don't have to give, like, no company, just more of just you want to be, like, on air, like, behind the desk, or do you want to be a sideline reporter like Pam Oliver, or do you want to be like Mike Breen saying bang when they hit the shot?
Well, definitely don't want to do play-by-play. That is, in this industry, last on my list. But I'll give you the steps I would like to take. I would like to start somewhere as a PA, production assistant. And part of my internship I do now, I am a production assistant, so I am learning a lot. Yes, sir. Make Plays Media. But from there, I kind of want to like move up the food chain. You know, go from production assistant to an associate producer to a producer. You know, keep climbing that hill, and then eventually, man, just earn an on-air role somewhere.
For my people who don't understand really what PA is, tell them what a PA actually really does.
PA is you really just do all the bitch work, and I put quotes around that because I mean that's what it is, man. Like whatever the higher ups can't do, they're gonna task you with it. Part of what I do, cutting clips for social media, making YouTube videos and thumbnails, running ticker. You know, the bottom line of every show has a you know the ticker. You know, sometimes we run that. Typing that out, being part of pre-production meetings, post-production meetings, really just anything that they can't do, you know, they have to rely on you to do. And I've found just like a love of just grinding that out and stuff. And I've already kind of made progress. Like, all right, Matt, you know, at least this is what I think they're saying. But hey, we see what you're doing now. Here, you know, here's some more. Here's some more. Here's some more. You know, try and stack your plate to build yourself to the next level. It's kind of what a production assistant. I hope that kind of clears that up.
Okay. So what I'm about to do is a couple this or that. So I'm gonna ask you, like for example, do you like the color orange or green? You can just choose one.
Okay. I got you.
Inside the NBA or the jump?
I would go the jump. I like those people a little bit better.
First take, undisputed.
Is there a neither category?
Yeah, of course.
I would just go neither, just because of recent events and stuff. I did get the chance to see First Take here in Orlando, so
we sure was. I got a picture with. Shout out to Molly, by the way.
Yep. I got a picture of Stephen A. with my Cowboys jersey on. That was awesome. So I don't know, man. It's just the way Undisputed's going right now. I definitely have to go First Take.
Coke, Pepsi.
Go Pepsi.
Waffles, pancakes.
Pancakes for sure.
Why pancakes?
They're just, I grew up on them, and waffles were just like, for me, it was just like a fancy food item when I was a kid. It's like they got all these. They don't have pancake makers. They got all these waffle makers. I'm like, I mean, they got skillets and stuff for pancakes, but pancakes just taste better to me.
So okay, Red Bull, Monsters.
Monsters for sure. I mean, I don't really care about growing wings, so I'm just gonna go Monster. It keeps me going.
All right, my last one. Gatorade, Powerade.
Gatorade for sure.
And I'm with you with that one. So let's go and shift gears back to sports. So I know you a Cowboys fan, and I'm a Falcons fan. And, you know, what I like to say is what Stephen A. says, an accident waiting to happen with the Cowboys. But tell me your realistic expectations for the upcoming season. I want to dive a little bit deeper into the Cowboys.
Cowboys. Well, I say if we can get second place in the division again, that would be a successful season. Just looking at Philly on a raw basis. However, because of Philly, we all have a tougher schedule next year, at least compared to what we had this previous season. But for the Cowboys, I think I'm gonna trust Jerry's gut with the draft and hope that these players, you know, can make an impact. But for the first time in who knows how long, they actually did something in free agency. They went out and got Brandon Cooks.
That was my next question.
I know DeAndre Hopkins is still looking around, so there's always possibility for him. We cut Ezekiel Elliott, which...
How do you feel about that?
I was always a big Zeke fan. I always was, and I tried to defend him just because I think he's a hard runner. I think he's a good dude and plays football well. But just looking at it from a statistical standpoint, every single year he produced less quality.
So with I have a how can I try to word this? It's a player you know that you defend, but you know it's always gonna get that person's always gonna get trolled. So like how my buddy HP always defend Russell Westbrook, but you know everybody always destroys Russell Westbrook. What's a player like that for you who you always defend, but it always seems like the majority is against him? Was that Ezekiel for you?
I'm going to take it a step further back. My guy, Tony Romo.
Ooh, that's a good one. Oh,
Yes. Yes. There was a time where I started watching him. It was like, dude, we're going 8-8 every fucking year, man. Like, can we please win more than 8 games? And every single year, man. I remember I was like, always at the end of the season, I would sit down and look at the schedule of that year, and I'm like, how the hell did we lose to 8 teams this year? We should have been 13-3 at the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tony Romo for sure, because I hated the way Dak Prescott came in. I hated it, and it really pissed me off because I remember I was going into my freshman year in high school when it all kind of happened, and I'm like, dude, Tony, like, I can't keep defending you. And it was just injury after injury. But, man, if you look on paper, I will say this, and you may agree with it, you may not, but Tony Romo on paper, I think he's got top 10 stats of a quarterback of all time.
It's a hot take.
It is, man. But if you like, I'm a Cowboys fan. Like I probably know better than everybody, and regardless of any bias, like the man was good. Like you watch his highlights and you look at his numbers, like the man was good, and he never had the defense, and I feel like that was the thing, man. Like just recently, the Cowboys woke up and say, hey, we're taking your man Dan Quinn from Atlanta, and be like, hey. Can you make a good defense? And thank God we've had a good defense recently, but again, like for Tony Romo, I always tried to defend him, and then Dak Prescott came out, and
now
the rest is history.
Now you almost got to defend Dak Prescott now, to be honest with you.
I'm not. So, I can't defend him.
My last question about your Cowboys is, I know you also got Stephon Gilmore.
Yes.
And you have a pretty good defense last year.
Yes.
So how are you expecting the top 5 defense, or are you expecting like even better? Because I'm expecting top 5 for you guys.
I'm going to go top 3.
I can see that too.
Just because I love the way Trayvon Diggs shut every hater up last year. It was really weird. I went on social media and I got no Trayvon Diggs hate all last season. But the year before, he's getting all these easy. I'm like, have you ever been in an NFL game? Like, God knows I haven't.
I think that's one of the most difficult, other than quarterback, on defense. Cornerback, you're on your own island. You got to hope.
Exactly. And they're saying, the quarterback just gave that to him. Like, he didn't give, like, you know the saying, in Madden, they always say, and that's why they're playing defense, because they can't catch. It's a famous line. Like, Trayvon Diggs, man, like, people don't know. Like, he did play wide receiver in college at Alabama. Nick Saban was like, you know what, let's move you to corner. But regardless, like, getting, I think he had 12 or 13 interceptions, the most since the 70s or 80s. Like, that's impressive, man. I don't care who you are, what team you play for. If he was on any other team in the NFL, I guarantee he wouldn't have gotten the hate that he did.
See, I think the most hate that they gave him was because all the yardage he gave up.
Yes.
He did have the most.
Yes.
That's the only, because I'm on his side, but the only backtrack I was getting was because all the yards he gave up. But
right.
He's a sniper type of guy, so he's gonna go.
He's aggressive, man. I mean, he's the defensive version of Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, 30 interceptions, 30 touchdowns. Like, it's just back and forth, right? But Trayvon Diggs last year, man, he shut a lot of people up.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go to video games, since you just talked about video games. What's the video game that Matt likes to play when he's not making shows for 5 and 7 minutes?
Ooh, I don't really play a lot of video games anymore. I have been getting back into Madden a little bit.
That's my word.
But my go-to would be Rainbow Six Siege, for sure.
Nice. Tell me more about, I forgot, I know it's like, is it Tom Clancy?
Yes.
Tell me more.
Yes.
It's been a minute since I played that, so tell me more about.
Well, so I've been playing since really like the game launched. It's been an up and down ride all throughout these years, because the game came out in 2015 and I was playing then, and I'm still playing now. It's a 5-on-5, and I play a lot of ranked, so it's like a bomb objective. So there's 2 bombs and an objective. You and your 5 teammates need to strategically, and I say that strategically, break into the building or wherever they're located at and try and plant the bomb. Or if you kill all 5 defenders, then you win the round. So
I know you also do your podcasting with Kyle. Tell me about the relationship you have with Kyle Abercrombie.
Man, it's been a hell of a ride, and I'm looking to continue it. But he was actually the guy I went to like start this. I was like, look, I don't know if I can do all this myself, and it's just a lot easier for me to have a co-host, because when I'm not asking questions or I don't have a train of thought going, I can always rely on him to carry the conversation forward.
For sure.
But man, we do it every week. Like, it's every Saturday. We'll sit down. And we don't really plan that much.
Right.
We'll be like, all right, Rodney's coming on this week. What are we going to talk about? What are we going to do? But it's really like a balance now. Like, he brings great ideas to the table. He brings a great guest to the table, and the people I can't get in contact with, he does, and the ideas I don't have, he brings them up. And man, it's just a lot of fun. Like this whole experience with the podcast, man, it's just fun. Just sitting down and talking about sports. It's just there's nothing like it.
Also, I like the intro. You know what I'm saying? You got Snoody in the intro, by
Yes,
the way.
sir.
So, you know what I'm saying? Listen to the podcast, and tell me what family means to Matt. What does family mean to Matt?
I mean, cliche, everything, but I also wouldn't be here without them. Like, my parents, like I said before, when I called my mom that Tuesday, like, she was perfectly open to it. She was like, all right, let's do it. A lot of people, when they're in college and struggling with GPAs and they call their parents, like, they probably won't get that answer.
Right.
They probably won't be like, all right, let's drop everything and go. Like my family's been beside me. Like, they've been my leg to stand on, really, throughout this entire journey. So that's a short answer, but for sure, like, they've supported me through everything and been there whenever I need them. So
Sure. I really had to ask that question. I love when people talk about their families and get giddy. I seen you glow and talk about your family, so that's what's up. But I'm gonna let you go with 2 more questions, maybe 2 more questions. Tell me more about Foul Territory. How did you get into Foul Territory with AJ? I know y'all be getting work.
yes.
To say that work.
Speaking of which,
WORK, big ED.
even today, Foul Territory. So it was about. So again, I hate going back, but start of the new year, it was like I moved into my new place, and I was like, look, man, I'm gonna take every opportunity I can now. So I remember Gus sent out an email. Hey, like, former MLB players are putting together this new show and stuff like that, and instantly, like, it was eye candy to me. It's like, I love being part of stuff, like, from the beginning. You know, just being part of a team and building something that now has turned into a pretty damn well success. I mean, they've got millions of followers and likes all across social media platforms. And I definitely think that they like the Full Sail guys, because there's other interns. There's people from Temple and, you know, other schools in the Northeast, but I definitely think they gravitate towards us. I mean, I got to go down to the Met spring training camp. That was awesome, man. Like, it was me and Malcolm, who's, you know,
Shout out to
Malcolm, he's a few months ahead in the program, but me and him, you know, woke up 5 a.m. one day, trucked it down to Port St. Lucie, and we pulled in, and, you know, the Mets facilities all there, and they were going against the Braves, and we were setting up production for him. It was just me and him. Yeah. And I'm like, man, you got to have a lot of trust into 2 college kids who have probably never done live production before, at least outside of this facility right here. And we were there, man. We were talking to the Mets PR guys, and they set up the whole interview basis. We set up our lights, cameras, like we have here, and out comes Francisco Lindor and Edwin Diaz and Tommy Pham, and then I saw Buck Showalter too, and I was like, you know, said what's up to him, and it's like that's what I like to do, man. And then afterwards we got to see the game, and it was awesome. It was a hell of an experience. So Foul Territory, like, what I've done for them and what the opportunities they've given me, it's just awesome, man. It's just awesome.
Man, salute the Foul Territory and AJ. Hey, AJ, if you see this, hey, man, give my guy a job, you know what I'm saying? Pay my guy some money, my guy.
I'm hoping.
But the last thing I'm going to let you go with is, tell me about the experience with Dan Patrick. Tell me about the experience with when you met Dan.
Well, I will say I have never in my life been a part of something like this because as great, like in this industry, I think we can both agree. Dan Patrick is like up here. Like he is the ultimate goal.
Right.
But which means he can just slap his name on the school and go about his day.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, every class we have here, we see something Dan sent to us.
Yep.
About how to build packages, interviewing stuff like I'm in now, how to write broadcast writing style. Like every month you see Dan, whether it's in video or whatever. And for him to take the time to come down here, I think he comes down here 3 to 4 times a year.
Quarterly.
And talk to his kids. Like he doesn't need to do that. He can be like every other college in this country. Just take your money and go about their day. Like he takes the time. And he sets up those Zoom interviews, Q&As. Like, you send him your work. You're getting critique from the Dan Patrick. Like, who else, man? Like this guy, like, he's giving you the advice that you need to get, to hopefully one day get to where he's at right now. And it's just incredible.
Man, it was such a dope interview, man. You got any shout-outs? Anybody want to say thank you? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think we covered a lot of the people in here. Shout out to everybody we talked about here, so.
I want to give a shout out to Jay Harris, Josh Roden with CBS 44. Can't wait to see y'all, man, and start working and get into the groove. And this is Matt Seaman, and he's the content demon, man. And you're going to be seeing his face either in the sports world on ESPN.
Or hearing my voice.
Or hearing his voice on that radio station. So it's Rodney with Matt, man. We checking out, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, bro, so much.
Absolutely.
Man. And we out.